The March 26, 2018 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Baroth? Here. Chairman Brew?
Here.
Ms. DeFlorio?
Here.
Mr. Flagler-Mitchell? Mr. Holland is excused. Mr. Mafucci? Here. Mr. Wilt?
Here.
President Carbone?
Here.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing none. Next item. Approval of minutes. You have the February 26, 2018 minutes of the Environment and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. And before we commence with the new business, I'll remind everybody, as Chairman Boyce did, is that please wait until the entire referral number is read before you move it so it can be accurately recorded as part of the audio recording and entered into the official minutes in an accurate fashion. So thank you. The next item on the agenda is new business. Clerk.
Referral 18-0104, authorized.
So move by Legislator Wilt, seconded by Legislator DeFlorio. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Through you to the administration, just a couple of questions. Who else responded to this RFP?
Erdman Anthony, Labella, Popley, and T.Y. Lynn.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, were all 7 respondents considered responsible bids?
Through the chair, these are not actual bids. This is a qualifications-based selection process for professional services.
Okay. Through the chair of the administration, were all 7 considered qualified?
Through the chair, yes, they were shortlisted from an initial list of respondents.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, when will the assessment and recommendations be ready?
Through the chair, upon execution of a contract, we expect in the order of 3 to 4 months for the initial assessment.
Thank you. And finally, through the chair of the administration, this is the first phase of the project, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Legislator DeFlorio.
Thank you. Through the chair, just kind of a curiosity question. I know 111, the referral states 111. Does the county still utilize the other small outbuilding across the driveway from 111 or any of the end buildings attached to the hospital?
Through the chair, if you're, I think you may be referring to, is it the Veteran Service Administration building?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's the Veteran Service Agency. Yes, absolutely, we still use that.
But is that included then in this referral, or is that separate?
No, we are not, through the chair, not looking at that structure proper. This is the main 10-story high-rise and attached
Gotcha.
clinic.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 18-0105.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by President Carbone. Legislator DeFlorio.
Yes, through the administration, can you please explain why this is a matter of importance? Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize, got ahead of myself.
Okay. Legislator Mafucci.
The administration, again, because I'm kind of new at this, this is a pure waters charge?
Through the chair, this is a pure waters project specific to the Gage-Tyler-Ogden Sewer District, where both of these pumping stations reside.
Okay, so then through the chair to the administration, I got some wonderful information relative to the tax levy and the tax cap compliance form that we send to the comptroller's office. And there's a about a $20 million charge to the taxpayer. So this project is in that $20 million?
Through the chair, yes, the funding that has been authorized for these two pumping stations is included in the dollar value you referenced.
And through the administration, through the chair to the administration, one more question. Are you anticipating spending that entire capital charge?
Through the chair, that total value is a not to exceed. We haven't clearly spent all of that as of this moment. It's possible that depending on the nature of the work as we proceed, we would need to spend all of that for these projects and the other projects that are included, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to spend the max amount. Oftentimes at the end of a project, we do have we bring it in slightly under budget. And so we don't necessarily spend to the max unless the projects require that we do so.
I have one more question through the chair to the administration. So if you don't spend the whole $20 million and then money is available at the end of the year, where does that go?
Chairman, I believe the $20 million being referenced is the Pure Waters capital charge that is a component of our tax cap calculation. It's a complicated formula to derive that $20 million, but in short, the $20 million charge is derived from the debt service requirements of each of the 4 Pure Waters districts, plus the anticipated cash capital outlays coming up in the succeeding year. So that charge in our tax cap compliance calculation is the amount reflected on property tax bills in aggregate. That is a funding source, not an expenditure appropriation. This referral seeks to authorize contracts, the expense of which is charged to a capital fund. The capital fund is what holds the authorization to expend money for these contracts. So while that is very closely correlated to the tax charge that shows up on our tax bill and the tax cap compliance report, it is not always necessarily a one-to-one correlation. Any underspending or overspending impacts the Pure Waters fund balance at the close of the year.
Through the chair to the administration, I have one more question. So Pure Waters does have a fund balance that they keep regularly, and I would assume it's reported, as most agencies or authorities would.
Mr. Chairman, the 4 Pure Waters districts are separate taxing districts, and in aggregate, they are accounted for in their own Pure Waters fund.
Thank you.
Legislator Baroth.
Administration, why do we have to expand the size of the pipes and such to, I believe, 8 inches diameter? Why is this necessary?
Through the chair, we're expanding the total hydraulic capacity of the wet wells, and that just has to do with the changes in flow. Depending on high flow situations, the wet wells can be undersized and create hydraulic backups potentially. So we want to, while we're modifying the station, we want to increase the size of that so that we can move those varying flows through the structure and downstream more efficiently and effectively without potential impacts to the upstream connections.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, this is essentially a response to anticipated increases of maximum flow?
Through the chair, that's correct. Every time we reassess a pump station, we start with looking at the service area that contributes to it, and we look at current flows, impacts of wet weather flows. As systems age, they're not always as tight, so we get some infiltration and inflow, although we do work to mitigate that as well. And then we also look at potential future development and growth in that service area.
Thank you. And how long is this project expected to take?
Through the chair, we're expecting to, with authorization through the legislative body next month, issue contracts and notice to proceed in June of this year, and completing the project, I believe it's February or March of 2019, approximately 9 months.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, how many contracts does the county currently have with Crane Hogan?
Through the chair, I don't know that off the top of my head. I can get you a list.
I appreciate that. And finally, what were the engineering estimates for this project?
Through the chair, the engineering estimate for the total engineer's estimate for the general and electrical contracts combined was $1.67 million versus the total actual GC and EC bids of $1.77 million. So the bids represented roughly 6% cost over the originally estimated costs.
Thank you very much.
Legislator Mafucci.
I just have one more question.
Don't apologize.
Curiosity, through the chair to the administration. I have obviously a lot to learn about this kind of thing. So there is a water authority, and if I heard the answer correctly, there's 4 different parts to the water authority. Is that correct?
Through the chair, there is a county water authority. We are not them. This is the Monroe County Pure Waters districts, and yes, there are 4 discrete districts within the Pure Waters district. It may help to consider them the potable water you drink, and we are the dirty water that you certainly don't want to drink until we're done cleaning it up.
Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, if I may also, if we can be of any assistance, Legislator Mafucci, in the future, and if you'd like to request an opportunity to sit down with department heads. In the past, when we've had new members of the legislature come in, we've done sort of an orientation. Seeing as that you're the only legislator, I don't think we've got around to doing that for you. So by all means, we extend the opportunity and the invitation for your office to contact us to sit down and provide you more information in detail about any of the departments that you have questions about. Okay.
We will get together. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions regarding this item? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 18-0116.
Moved by President Carbone, seconded by Legislator Wilt. Is there any discussion? Legislator DeFlorio.
Through the chair, can you please explain why this is a matter of importance?
Through the chair, many of you might remember the revitalization project at the airport started about 2 years ago. The director at that time met with a company called Vision Logic, and they were the cutting edge on facial recognition. And so he had put this into the project as a sole source, that they were going to be the only party. When the interim director came in and it was moving things around and getting the project really going, he asked me to review this, and based on the changes in that short period of time, it no longer appeared that this was a sole source. I contacted purchasing, and they agreed with my decision. So we had to do a 30-day blackout because it wouldn't have been fair to Vision Logic if we hadn't, and then we did the RFP process. To keep the project on track, I had to ask this body for a matter of importance.
Thank you.
Legislator Baroth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, did Vision Logic also apply for this project?
Through the chair, the interesting part is Vision Logic now partnered with 2 of the firms that submitted. So the landscape had changed so much that they are now, their product is now used by others in this field who can do this quicker and more economically. So the software that they provide is still in the project.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, in the description of what the software is capable of doing, it talks about making a number of recognitions at one time. How many recognitions can it make at one time, through the chair?
Through the chair, we've been told 75 recognitions at one time at this point.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, will this system cover just the main terminal and the parking structure, or will it cover other areas of the airport as well?
Through the chair, right now, it's going to cover the terminal, the roadways, and parts of the parking garage. It has the capability, however, as we are able to obtain more funds, to do perimeter checks and things of that nature. So the package we picked can be expanded upon as our needs grow.
Thank you. So through the chair of the administration, when you mentioned roadways, I assume you mean the roadways leading up to and from the garage and the terminal, correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay. Then in addition, looking at the cost and the funding rolling out into the future, I noticed that it is $600K for the first 3 years and then an expansion for $100K after that. So through the chair of the administration, am I correct to assume that the $100K per year for the potential fourth and fifth year are really for maintaining and not so much as installation? Is that correct?
Through the chair, we are assuming it's for maintaining and improving.
Maintaining and improving.
Yes.
Thank you. And finally, through the chair of the administration, I actually I looked up the website of this particular company. I'm pretty sure we're missing in their official mailing address Victor. While they are in Fishers, their address as they listed is actually 7625 Main Street, Fishers, Victor, New York. Believe it or not. So not a big deal, but when I see these things, I like to point them out.
Through the chair, they were the closest, and I did mention to them that they could move into the county.
Well, the point being is that we don't have the Victor in the address.
The principal does live in the county.
Yeah. I really am okay with it.
I wasn't.
I have a question. How would the facial recognition technology be utilized? It would only be as effective as an existing facial database loaded into the system, so it could, as you stated, recognize up to 75 facial recognition incidents at the same time. So I guess how would the system be utilized? Where would we obtain the facial recognition database? And maybe if you could just explain a little bit how that would be utilized at the airport.
Through the chair, please bear with me with my lack of computer savviness, but there are certain databases that we believe we can get into rather easily through TSA and our FAA connections, and there may be certain databases that we have to pay a subscription to. Beyond facial recognition, the sheriff's office has license plate recognition program already that we could tap in, that we hopefully will tap into, so that if a car pulls in and it's sitting too long somewhere, we would know who owns the car. And then combined with the facial recognition, if it's somebody who may or may not be on a database, we may have information as to whether that person's on any watch lists or things of that nature. We also assume that we're going to be on Amber Alert database and certain databases like that. We haven't completely explored all the different databases we can tap into, but we did tell the consultant we were interested in how many and what we could get, and they're doing the research for us. They want to know a little bit more information about what we want and what we need.
Thank you. And a follow-up question would be, given some of the territorial nature of the enforcement agencies, meaning the Sheriff's Department and TSA, would the Sheriff's Department be able to act upon a TSA recognition flag that was supplied by their database and vice versa?
The common player in all this is the airport security team. So the airport security team would alert the sheriffs that they needed help. So the sheriffs and the TSA would not be working together, or vice versa. If it came from the sheriff, so that the law enforcement component would react to the airport itself.
I see. Yeah, but I'm talking about inside the terminal, the security staff would notify either TSA or the sheriffs. What would be the primary notification agency in a case of a hit, that there's a bad guy in the foyer, he's about ready to go through the check-in line? Would that typically be handed off to the Monroe County Sheriffs?
Through the chair, I'd have to get back to you, or to the chair. I'd have to get back to you on the exact protocol, but usually everybody is notified at the same time, meaning TSA, the sheriff, and whatever other related agencies, the fire department, the airport fire department. So it kind of is a general net that gets everybody there at once, depending on what the crime is or what they think the crime will be, depends on who takes the lead.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Legislator Mafucci, are you sure you don't have any other questions?
Yeah.
Hearing there are no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 18-0117.
Moved by Legislator Wilt, seconded by Legislator DeFlorio. Is there any discussion on this item? Legislator DeFlorio.
Yes, through the chair. Please explain to us why this is considered a matter of importance.
Through the chair, certainly. This referral is asking for authorization for contracts with DASNY for 2 projects. The first project is referenced as modifications in Building 2. That's really the enabling project that we authorized through the Purchasing Department, the award of construction through the Purchasing Department in December. The reason we did that was to expedite approval and construction for completion in May, that would then allow folks that are currently in that space to be relocated into the renovated space in the Building 2 library, and the space they're vacating is a trailing project, the MCC Building 2 renovation. And then basically we move the folks out, excuse me, I got that turned around. We're moving folks out of Building 7 into the Building 2 space that we're renovating currently, and then reconstructing the Building 7 space for Science Lab. So that is a project that this honorable body did authorize in this past. So, and that has to be completed in August. So I guess to bring this home, the reason this is a matter of importance is because by virtue of the fact that we awarded construction through purchasing, we didn't have an opportunity to request approval for these contracts from the legislative body. And frankly, when we brought the second project through for legislative authorization in January, we forgot to include the action to authorize a DASNY contract for that project. So in order to keep both these projects on track with completions in May and then October respectively, or excuse me, August respectively, we're asking that we move this through quickly for authorization next month so that we can ultimately open the second project, the Science Lab space, for fall semester.
Legislator Baroth.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, so just so I'm clear, which of these programs or projects have already commenced? One, both, or neither?
Through the chair, effectively both. The Building 2 project is under construction, slated for completion in May, and we in process of issuing notice to proceeds for the trailing project.
Okay, so they both commenced then? Okay.
Through the chair, correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral 18-0118.
Moved by Legislator DeFlorio, seconded by President Carbone. Is there any discussion? Legislator Wilt.
Okay, through the chair, I would like to know, is this a standard $79 per hour to pay for each officer, just the direct traffic? Are they doing security too?
Through the chair, the services that they render are primarily traffic control. There's the parking lots themselves. You come in and you park at the two major lots that you think of when you go to a Red Wings game. There are MCC parking lot attendants that actually manage, direct the parking within those parking lots. The responsibility that we have with regard to traffic control, it's pursuant to the lease that was authorized by this body at its February meeting and became effective as of March 1st. And their primary responsibility is people crossing Plymouth, people crossing Maury Silver Way, those major intersections to get safely into the stadium. And then I think even more importantly, it's 10:30 at night, game ends, people want to be able to get safely back to their cars. So they provide those services getting into the stadium and out of the stadium back to the parking lots.
A follow-up. How many officers are they hiring to do this?
Between 1 and 3 officers. What the police department does is they work very closely with Dan Mason, the general manager of the Red Wings, and they have a pretty good read based on the historical knowledge in terms of the time of year they are, whether it's, obviously if it's a Friday night game, if it's a Saturday, Sunday game, and obviously they look at the weather forecast. They will, obviously those if they're going to be filling the stadium, they'll certainly be looking at 3 officers. If it's a rainy business person special on a Tuesday, it's gray and it's raining, they'll have 1 officer there. And then they can respond to the individual circumstances based on what the weather is forecasting as well. So it's between 1 and 3 officers for any game.
Okay, and through the chair, what happens if the Red Wings make the playoffs?
Well, we built that in, recognizing that oftentimes it's day to day as we approach Labor Day, and sometimes you don't know whether they're going to make. In the last couple of years, we've actually been in that situation. Unfortunately, they didn't make the playoffs, but they literally this past season came down to the last game of the year and they lost, and therefore they didn't make the playoffs. So what we've built in here is the flex to cover the playoffs, even though it may not be necessary. We certainly hope it is.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Legislator Broth.
What was the prior rate per hour for each police officer?
The prior rate was $78.33. So this is an increase of 67 cents. It's about 0.8%, less than 1% increase over 2017.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, do you know approximately how long that rate of $78.33 was in place?
I believe, through the chair, pardon me, I believe it goes up every year slightly because of the costs of benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the prior years. We can get that if you like it, but my understanding is it's been a nominal increase in the prior years. In the prior years, of course, this was not a contract with Monroe County. It was a contract with Groesbeck.
Right. So through the chair, we anticipate moving forward next year for there'll likely be a slight increase as well.
Through the chair, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before the committee? There being no other matters, the March 26, 2018 meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Environment and Public Works Committee will be held on Monday, April 23rd, 2018 at 5:45 p.m.